article on Incoterms 2020. These international commercial terms define the responsibilities of buyers and sellers in global trade. Understanding Incoterms is crucial for risk management, cost control, and smooth international transactions. Let's explore the key Incoterms and their implications in different modes of transport. Incoterms for any mode of transport apply to shipments by air, road, rail, and sea. Let's go through each of these Incoterms one by one to understand their roles and responsibilities in global trade. EXW is the least responsibility for the seller. The buyer takes on all the risks and costs after picking up the goods like transportation, custom clearance. For example, if an Indian manufacturer sells goods to a US buyer under EXW terms, the buyer must arrange everything from the pickup at the factory to delivery in the USA. Best used when the buyer has a strong logistics network. The seller does not want to handle export formalities. Under FCA, the seller is responsible for getting the goods cleared for export and delivering them to the carrier. For example, a seller in Germany delivering auto parts to an Indian buyer under FCA Frankfurt Airport means the seller ensures the goods reach the airport, but from there the buyer handles the freight and all costs. Best used when the buyer wants more control over shipping. Export formalities need to be handled by the seller. CPT is useful when the seller arranges transport but does not cover risk after handing over the goods. For example, if a furniture manufacturer in Italy sells goods to a buyer in Canada under CPT Toronto, the seller pays for shipping to Toronto. However, once the goods are handed over to the shipping carrier in Italy, the buyer assumes all risks, including loss or damage during transit. CIP is similar to CPT but includes insurance. This is commonly used in high-risk shipments where the buyer wants insurance coverage. For example, if a pharmaceutical company in Germany ships medicines to a distributor in Japan under CIP Tokyo, the seller pays for both shipping and insurance up to Tokyo. However, if the buyer wants additional insurance beyond the seller's coverage, they can arrange it separately. These Incoterms define how goods are delivered to the buyer's location and who is responsible for unloading and import duties. Let's explore each in detail. Under DAP, the seller delivers the goods to the agreed destination, but the buyer is responsible for unloading and paying any import duties or taxes. Imagine a company in Germany selling industrial machinery to a buyer in India under DAP New Delhi. The seller arranges transportation and ensures the goods reach New Delhi, but the buyer must unload the machine and handle Indian customs duties. The buyer has expertise in handling customs clearance. The seller wants to control transportation but avoid import-related complexities. The buyer has expertise in handling customs clearance. The seller wants to control transportation but avoid import-related complexities. DPU means the seller is responsible for delivering and unloading the goods at the destination. The buyer still manages customs clearance and duties. Let's say a manufacturer in Japan sells medical equipment to a hospital in Australia under DPU Sydney warehouse. The seller ensures the goods reach the warehouse and are unloaded, but the hospital must handle customs clearance and duties. The goods are bulky or require specialized unloading. The buyer lacks resources to unload the shipment. Under DDP, the seller takes full responsibility for transportation, customs clearance, and import duties, delivering the goods ready for use. Suppose a clothing manufacturer in China exports garments to a retailer in the USA under DDP Los Angeles. The seller arranges transport, pays US customs duties, and ensures the retailer gets the shipment hassle-free. The buyer just receives the goods without dealing with paperwork or extra costs. Best used when the buyer prefers a stress-free import process. The seller has expertise in handling international customs and duties. Each of these Incoterms offers different levels of responsibility for buyers and sellers. Choosing the right one depends on your business needs, customs expertise, and cost management strategy. Here is the summary of key reposabilities of each Incoterms which falls under any mode of transport.